why is this goal coming up for me? And is this the most important thing? If it's not the most important thing, then why does it keep coming up? What is the most important thing? Just like dominoes, you may find that, well, I've got these like 5 or 6 things I'm thinking about doing, but if you can really find that one thing, it's like, oh, now that I think about it, if I really just did this, it might knock all those other dominoes over and everything falls into place and you only had to make that one big change. And so just like I had a coach tell me, he's like, if someone tells you to run, he's like, you have a tendency to just sprint at the wall and then knock yourself over. He's like, I'm encouraging you to, when someone say run, pause for a moment and look around, because you might find there's an open doorway and you could just run right through it. But if you don't take that moment to look, you won't ever know that it's there, and you'll just keep getting up and trying to run right through the wall and keep falling down. You're not going to make any progress. So sometimes we get really excited, and as another coach of mine used to say, get a wild hair up your ass, you know? So you're just like, oh, I can't wait to do this right now. And yes, it's great to follow your psych, but we want to set ourselves up for success. So by taking that kind of quiet moment and say, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to answer some of these questions, I'm going to think about it, I'm going to really get in touch with, you know, why am I taking this course? What do I want to change? How can I make these changes sustainable this time? This is a change forever, not just a change for this week or this month. And then use that to really help you figure out, is this really the primary goal? And if so, how can I implement that in my life? And you don't need to answer those now. As I mentioned, that's a reflective exercise in the book. But I would really encourage you to sit down and think about those at length whenever you have time to go through the questionnaire. And again, I would encourage you to physicalize this thinking by either writing it down by hand or typing it out. The more senses you can use when you do some of these things, you know, like saying the question out loud. So you're physicalizing it by speaking it, you're hearing yourself say it, and then by writing down the answer, you're physicalizing it by using your hands or your fingers if you're typing. So you're engaging with a lot more of the body, and it really helps to cement not only the asking of the question, but the answering it as well, and putting it more into, it's more imprinted. They've done a number of studies, a lot of students, for instance, if they take notes by hand, especially, to a lesser degree if they type them, but especially if they're handwritten notes, even if the student never looks at the notebook again, they will retain a lot more of the lecture than the student that didn't take any notes. And it's simply because they forced to process what they were told by putting it into their head and then taking it from their head and putting it through their hand onto the page. And lastly, I'm just going to touch on the effortless awareness, which is the final exercise in the first chapter of the book, which is learning how to dial your kind of personal radio dial back and forth from what in psychological fitness they call it a radio me or radio life. A radio me is when you're up in your head and you've got that constant chatter of random lyrics and the commercial you heard on the radio and the annoying thing that just happened to you and the half a sentence you overheard as you were walking past somebody's office, and there's all this just noise in your head all the time. And it seems like you can't ever escape it. And you're constantly in these loops and these stories, and you're kind of stuck with or preoccupied with all of those things. And learning how to tune that dial into that kind of calm centered radio station, the radio life, as opposed to that head station radio me. And I really encourage you to spend time with that exercise and see if you can shift in and out of I'm preoccupied, I'm in my head, I'm distracted, I can't focus, I'm overwhelmed, to I'm centered, everything's quiet, and I feel calm. And the more you can practice that, not only the more will you be able to probably have a reset and dumping of stress and higher output if you're trying to get some quality thinking in. But especially in terms of goals and answering some of these powerful questions, if you're sitting down and all you can think of is the million things that you did, the million things you didn't do, the million things you need to do tomorrow, it's going to be much more difficult for you to dive deep into what do I really want to accomplish? Why do I really want to do that?
Now I sit upon this mountain, breathing cleaner air than before.